Hello and welcome to my December wrap-up. I'm going to do things a little differently this month, and I'm going to give you a vlog style thought as soon as I finish each book. Instead of telling you about what's going on in my life, I'm just going to be finish this book, this is what I thought. If you're new here, my name is Crystal, this is Bond Book Reviews, and give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already to join this amazing family of book lovers, and let's dive on in because last night I finished my first book of the month. I started and finished it in one day. It was absolutely amazing, and that is Hidden Pictures. This was recommended to me by Neva from Reading with Neva. She read this on live sprints and was just absolutely pulling faces, and I love thrillers, so I was super excited to give this a chance. And so I started it yesterday, listened to the audio, and finished it last night, unable to put it down. It was when I tell you this is the thriller of the year for me, I'm not even kidding. It was the perfect level of spook and page turning, unput downedness, the perfect length. The ending was perfectly wrapped up. Every time you thought you knew what was happening, something else happened. I did end up guessing a little bit of the end, but not the end. So 5 out of 5 will be one of my top books of the year, 100%. So I've just finished book 2 of the month, and that is The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid, I think is the author. I'll put it up here so you can see it. This one was one that I had started back in, I want to say August maybe, and it was one that I got partway through and needed to finish. So that was the goal for December. It follows a diabolic, which is a character or creature that has been bred to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to protect their bond at no cost. So this is a human that they have been bred to protect, and she is meant to protect someone who is in the royal family. I can't think of what their lineage is, and she'll do this at all costs. And in what ends up happening is she ends up going in the place of the princess to a event, and then everything goes to shit, and she now has to take things down from the inside. Very good world building, I must say, from this. The main character was really, really interesting. I loved her badassedness. The thing that I probably didn't like so much about this book was the main love interest. The author threw in undertones of a LGBTQ romance between the diabolic and the character she was meant to be protecting. But then the second half of the book, it was very much this other coupling kind of forced down your throat to the point that it was a little bit unnecessary. I don't know. Did it ruin the book? No, but it was just something of note. But I do definitely think that this series is interesting. I'm intrigued to see where it goes though, because the end of the first book doesn't really leave you with too much to want to know. I felt very satisfied at the end of the first book. A lot of my questions were already answered, but I'll probably I own the second book, so I'll read the second book just to see what I think. Overall, I think I'm going to give it about 4 stars, purely because of enjoyment as I was reading it. Maybe 3.5 is probably more realistic. But yeah, that's my thoughts. So I just finished Barbarian's Choice, and this is book 11 in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. This is the furthest I've ever gotten in any series in my life. I am so bad at continuing series, but this one I can't help but just keep continuing. This was very much the same as all the others. Awesome characters, good smart. I've noticed that the further into the book she's gotten, the less smart there is and the more storyline there is, which I'm also I'm kind of appreciating. But I will say that I really appreciated she always has some form of representation in her books. So in this one, the male character had a fear of abandonment kind of issue that was really well done. So yeah, I just feel there's always something representation wise in her stories that she does really well. So I'm definitely going to be continuing the series. It is definitely probably a 4-star read, this one. It wasn't as good as some of the others, but I did appreciate it and enjoy it for what it was. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Really enjoyed it. 4-star. Can recommend this series to anyone who's looking for sci-fi-esque, romancy smart, because that's pretty much all it is. But I love them. They're great palette cleansers. I really enjoy this series, so we'll definitely be continuing. So yesterday I finished Love Light Farms, which I was buddy reading with Reading with Neva and Brittany, and I think there was a couple others that were also reading it at the same time, but I impulsively decided to read it. We were on a live. I'd finished my book at the time, and they were like, oh yeah, we're reading this as a buddy read, and I decided to pick it up. Well, I finished it yesterday, and I think I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. I mean, it was very cute. I don't think it's too holiday-y for a holiday romance, but I did like the main character romance. The only thing I have to say is it kind of felt like this could have happened years ago. Like their friendship was very much already a romance, and all they did was increase to the physical side of things. So I'm surprised that it hadn't happened earlier, would probably be my only comment. But I liked the writing. I liked the vibe that the farm gave me. I definitely want to visit that area, and cut down a Christmas tree. So yeah, I think, 3.5 stars. I mean, for what it was, if I was more of a fan of holiday contemporary romances, it would probably get a 5. But for what I think as an overall reader of what I like, it's a 3.5. So if you love holiday romances, definitely give it a shot, because it's more of a 5 if you're a huge fan of holiday romances. I'm just not.
So I just finished Ice Planet Barbarians book 12. I'll put it up here because all the titles blend into one. I think it was Barbarian Redemption. Retreat. I don't even know. They're all blending in together now at this point. But this one was probably one of my least favorite. And not because I didn't like the characters. I felt that, the male it was good to see his perspective, because previously he'd been very misjudged as this unliked part of the clan. And it was interesting how new characters were brought into the world. But I feel like, and this is kind of spoiler territory, so if you plan on reading these books and you haven't gotten this far yet, I'm sorry, but by the time you get here, you'll have forgotten what I said. The female main lead, she had been in slavery since she was 13. She had not been sexually assaulted in any way or anything like that. She was still a virgin, but she had been abused and treated horribly, like an item or an object. So she was very, very timid and afraid of the world. And she went from I don't want anyone to touch me, I'm gonna cover myself in mud so no one looks at me, to I trust this man to dominate me in bed. And it just kind of went a little bit too far to the other side of the spectrum. I don't know, it was done in a nice way, it was done in a tasteful way, but to me it seemed unrealistic. And that's the only time that any of these plots have seemed unrealistic. I know it sounds weird when we're reading about Big Blue Alien Dick, but I just feel like she went from 0 to 100 in an unrealistic time frame. And being a woman, there ain't no way a virgin would be able to just take their cocks. They are, if you've read the books, you know what I'm talking about. There is no way a virgin would be able to take that and get an orgasm the first time they have sex. I get that they're bred to be these amazing people in bed, and they're bred to treat women like they're absolutely amazing, but come on, that was the unrealistic part of it. Will I continue the series? Of course, because I'm this invested now. I've already downloaded book 13 to have on my Kindle ready to start. But I'm going to take a break from Ice Planet Barbarians for now, and I'm going to try and actually finish the books that I was meant to finish this month. But that's my review on Ice Planet Barbarian book 12 for anyone that is interested. And anyone that's not, I'm sorry, you just heard me say Big Blue Dick.
So I just finished The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This was one of the books that I planned to try and finish in December, because I had started it, I think back in August or sometime, and then had put it down and not finished it. So I finished it this month. I was probably about 40% in when I started, and I finished it across the month of December. But I think I'm gonna have to give it probably a solid 4 stars. I think if I had read it all at the same time and actually been able to sit down and immerse myself in the world a little bit more, I probably would have given it a 5. But because I didn't read it the way that I think it was intended to be read, and I did it in small parts at a time, that's where it's getting a 4. But the last probably 100 pages is really what sold me. I really, really enjoyed, her rise from the ashes and how we were left with book 1. And I'm very, very excited to see where book 2 goes. I don't feel like it broke me as much as everybody said that it broke them. I definitely feel like I maybe just wasn't as invested in the characters because of the way I read it. So maybe that's why I didn't get as upset. But I can see why there's people that if they are so wholeheartedly invested and loving the characters, things happen that would make people sad. But I tend to not really cry so much in fantasies. So that's a me thing, not a book thing.
but the writing was phenomenal. The world building was fantastic. I loved that the first half was kind of like this training montage that was really interesting. And then the second half really got into like the whole political side of things. There was probably about 100 pages kind of like after the first half before the end that really kind of dragged for me. But once I got to that last 100 pages, I found it impossible to put down. Last night I had 30 pages left and I was really struggling to keep my eyes open. So I got to finish it off today and was really excited to do that. So yeah, 4 stars. Definitely recommend, especially if you are a fan of this kind of like world building, strong female character fantasy. I have finished this entire book and I still can't really tell you like what it's about because it's such a complex world that it's very, very difficult to describe without giving away like plot spoilers. If you're a fantasy reader, you will love this. I can see why so many people have enjoyed this, but it is probably mid-range fantasy in terms of I guess difficulty of figuring it out. Like, it's not epic fantasy so that it's so difficult that you can't understand it, but if you're not a fantasy reader, it might be a little bit too much and not a good first fantasy novel. So there you go. That's my thoughts on The Poppy War.
So it is the last day of December and I'm currently still in the middle of 2 books, Empire of the Vampire and The Hound of Rowan, which were 2 books that I had left on my currently reading goal that I wanted to like finish to wrap up the year so that my currently reading on Goodreads was like clean. I think that I am going to DNF The Hound of Rowan because it has been on my TBR. I started it in January. I've had so many months to pick it back up. I've picked it back up twice and read like 5 or 6 pages and then stopped again. I have the first 3 books, but I just am not as invested as I thought I would be. So I think I'm just going to donate the whole series and unhaul that and DNF that. I think I'm going to try and finish Empire of the Vampire today. I have around 6 hours of the audiobook left, which will be hard considering we have a wedding today and it's New Year's Eve, obviously. So I'm going to try and finish it. And if not, I'm probably going to soft DNF it and pick it back up completely from the start later in the year. The reason why I'm doing this, I feel, is if I stop again to not finish it because I'll want to start January's Pick Pong TBR, I probably won't pick it back up again because I'll be like, oh, like, I've only got this little bit of amount left. And yes, I know I could finish that little bit amount before I start January TBR, but I'm so excited for my January TBR that I don't want to wait. So I'm thinking I'm going to try and finish it. And if not, I'm going to soft DNF it and completely restart it before because like I'm at that point where it's starting to get really, really exciting, but I don't feel like I'm enjoying it as much because I've almost forgotten what I've read in the first half. So I think I'm going to completely restart it and soft DNF it. So that is my reading month for month of December. I didn't really do a lot. I'm sorry, not as much as I expected. But hopefully January will be more successful. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with this new wrap-up style of vlog style wrap-up with me giving you my opinion as soon as I finish something. And let me know if you've read any of these books, what you thought. And until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend and happy reading. Bye.